You ready?
Yeah.
Okay. This is the music technology. This is Mr. Herbert Midgley. For more than 17 years, Herbert has been working closely with the music technology. He is an expert of computers and music software, has served many students and faculty in the use of music technology. Herbert is currently a music technology coordinator at TMEA Austin State University. He also teaches guitar, electronic music, music for children, and the history of rock music. He also has many educational and music videos on the web. Let's welcome Mr. Herbert. I'm going to say Hector, Herbert Midgley.
Can y'all hear me okay right now? Great. I know 6:30 is kind of a late time. You all come out and whatnot. And I've done this, I think this is the fourth time I've taught this particular session. And I teach it a little bit different every time because of the technologies that are out here and whatnot. So I do have a PowerPoint presentation. However, what I think I'm going to do is just dive into the programs and have you guys ask questions, and then we'll just take it from that point. That usually works better. So I'm just going to totally my PowerPoint presentation, so I think I actually reviewed it. Before we get started, how many folks are out there or elementary? Oh, great. High school level and college. Great. The thing about music technology is that this little box up here has just changed what we're able to do in so many ways, and you feel it's kind of getting to a point that you just feel weird about having access to the internet now, having access to cell phones. I went to 7 sessions yesterday. I went to 5 today, and there's always somebody doing this right back there, doing text messaging somebody and whatnot. And when I first started coming here in '98. No one had cell phones. It was a backbone. So it's amazing how fast technology has gone by. I taught in public schools for a while, and I realized that you just don't have a budget, and a lot of you guys are out here. So the programs I'm going to show to you guys are free programs that work both on the Mac and PC. And there are other programs that you can purchase that cost various amounts from $30 to $500 range. However, most of the ones I'm going to show you here, well, really all the ones I'm showing you here 20 years ago would have been like incredible. I would have loved to have some of these programs, especially like Notepad, which I'm going to talk about. When I was in high school, I would have loved to have Notepad. See this little nerve right here? My hand used to start dropping because I used to handwrite the parts out. And thankfully, I don't have to do that anymore. Well, the first program I want to show you guys is Audacity. And what Audacity is a music recording piece of software. So first I'm just going to show you how to basically play music. It's still the first thing. If the technology falls apart, it'll be right now. Let's get this thing to keep on. While I was doing that, I'll show you this cool little mic. I was going to show this a little later on. This is actually a USB microphone. So you see this little USB wire on it? It's a big condenser microphone. And they're about $80 in range. This is a Samsung, and it's a CO1U USB stereo condenser. And it's actually a pretty good mic. Most of you guys, I'm assuming, are PC probably, right? And so since you guys are all PC, you probably will have a sound card that will have a place for an input jack for a microphone. So if you go to Walmart or wherever and just buy a $10 microphone, you can use that to start recording. Now, of course, the better the microphone, the better quality recording that you're going to get. You know, you can do it all the time. And this is not like it.
What was the model number of that microphone?
It's a Samsung CO1U USB stereo condenser. It says it's already running. I was hoping to have all this stuff open up before y'all came in here. Sadly, last week took a little while to get up. Let's force quit that.
So you're saying it doesn't work with a Mac?
No, it's kind of perfect with Mac. I use it all the time. I use it less than there it is. Beautiful thing about programs, you just restart them a lot of times they work. There are other programs out there that cost a great deal of money. SoundForge, which some of you guys may have used. There's a bunch of different various audio programs. I like Audacity because it works both with Mac, PC, and Linux. And the nice thing is that you can transfer files from one to another. And for a lot of you guys, band directors out here, choir directors, elementary ensembles that you might possibly want to record, really with this recorder here, you can do so many really cool things. Before I go on, what are all the things that the computer can do? What are things that you use a computer for? Research. What? Storing. Listen to music. Recording. You can watch videos on it now. Last year was when I first heard of YouTube. And in 1 year, it's amazing how YouTube exploded. I have 150 videos on YouTube now. I'm going to put this video on YouTube when I get back to Nacogdoches. So for the folks that weren't able to be here, they can still watch and hopefully get something from this as well. So this little box can do so many things because it's ones and zeros. That's what it's doing. And it can record things. You can watch movies. You can do research. And originally, when they started coming out with personal computers, they thought, well, I don't think we're going to put out personal computers. And what was the only reason they thought that anybody might want a personal computer in their house? This is back when computers was big in this room. Only one thing they could come up with, a reason why somebody would want to have a computer in their house, was to organize recipes. That was the only thing they could think of why anybody would want a computer in their house, is to organize recipes. And I'm guessing no one in here does that really. However, you do a search on Google and come up with a zillion recipes, and I guess in some ways that is kind of organized. So basic things about Audacity. There's a record button. Play, rewind, pause, stop, fast forward. And basically, I'll start recording. And actually, because I don't feel like singing, I'll record my little friend here. And I taught elementary for a while. And at one time, I was actually pretty good at recorder player. Quite sure. Hope it's not getting too loud. I'm not sure there's a mixer or not. But, you guys get the gist of that. Could you hear that at least somewhat? And let me. If I don't like that track, I can hit this little X right here, and it goes away. I can record it again. I don't think is there any volume in that mixer?
No, sir.
Okay, that's fine. I'll play loud. Notice when I hit the record button, it puts up the track there automatically. You can go under there and do one. Actually, I never hardly do it. You go under the track, so you can't do that over here in the projects area. And I can make it use stereo track or audio track. Time tracks you probably make use of audio tracks from other things out there.
Turn your microphone up a little bit.
No,
now it's loud.
Okay. I just talk about this. I do lecture to 127 in the rock history class that I have. So usually it projects, but I am in an auditorium where I actually amplifies my sound a little bit, so that does help out a great deal. Well, let me show you some cool things. Let's say this was really good. Let's say this was something that I want to take to a CD, make it to an MP3, and do some other really cool things. Let's pretend I have a really long time here. I can highlight that section there and instead delete on the typewriter or backspace on the PC, and that goes away. At the very end, I can do the same thing. Let's say that this is stuff I don't want there. I can hit delete and it goes away. let's say that I want to do like a fade out. I can highlight the areas that I want, come under effects up here, and I have a fade out. So that does a nice little fade, and you actually see the visualization of that. If I play it from that point there, it's already died out by that point. But that's how you can fade in and fade out of things. You have gain over here, left, right, and you have volume over here. And what I do, this is a little trick that that can actually make sure your recording sound actually quite good in Audacity. So I click on this track here, and basically what I do is I duplicate that track, and it's Command D, and that's what I normally do. And I click on it again, and I'll make another one. So I have 3 tracks, and it's a copy of the same thing I did. And this is what I do: is I take the first track original, I do a hard pan left and a hard pan right, turn the volume down, and they do it by dB. So let's take it down 9 dB, 9 dB. Mixing 101 is this: if something's too quiet, either turn it up, turn everything else down, or do a little bit of both. And that's basically mixing 101. And I'll turn this main volume down. This is touch, and that should be louder now. If I want it, so that's definitely louder that way. And when you put this in the car, and this is when you put this into a car, you actually have the panning there and so forth. The one thing now is like, what do you guys know what they mix to nowadays? I don't know how many of you guys listen to popular music, and I'm sure probably most of you guys listen to some type of popular music out there. You know what they mix to now? I heard they're going to remix the Beatles albums and they're going to release them on iTunes. And you know what they're mixing for now? It used to be like in the 70s, and I'm not that quite old, but you go to someone's dorm, and always be someone with a bad sound system, a big sound system. Everybody comes to their dorm, listens to the records there, big speakers and dumping, blah blah blah. And now, you know what they mix to? Little iPod things, and they actually mix to it. And we have a whole generation of folks now that are used to crummy MP3 compression and not the high fidelity sound out there. And they actually are mixing for that. They don't mix with the big speakers because folks don't have that. They have the little iPods to listen to. So anyways, that's how, when I do something, I do think about that left and right hand when I do some things. Alright, let's say this was awesome. What I can do now is, let's say I want to run this to a CD. I can go file, I can have a couple options here. I can export as a WAV file, as an MP3 file, and an OGG Orbis. What's that? That's an open source compression system. Before I go on, let me ask this. Do you guys know how MP3s work, how compression works? A little bit. When I make this, if I were to say this is a WAV file, and also on Mac you see that as AIFF file, that's the stereo recording. That has no compression in it. It's the basic, it's the standard 44.1 CD quality recording. What happens with an MP3 is that they say, all right, when you hear something really high, you hear something really low, you don't hear the middle. So if that happens and this happens, let's take out that middle part because you don't hear it anyways. So they take that part out. And that's why MP3 is what they call a lossy compression system. It loses data. You know how you take a picture with your digital camera? It's JPEG. Well, that's compressed because the full image will be this big TIFF file. I mean, it would be this tremendous file. You can fit like one picture onto your camera. But a JPEG actually does compression, and the less compression you have on it, the bigger the file is. Like you have a 2 megapixel camera, well, those files are smaller than a 7 megapixel camera because you have the less compression on that 7 megapixel camera. You can put more data onto it. So that's one of the scenarios that happens with the MP3s. Like when something really high and something really low happens, you don't hear the middle, so it takes it out. It actually takes that part out. And the higher the bit rate you have on your compression system, the more closer it sounds to the CD, the more closer it sounds to real life. Now, if you listen to 128 kilobit MP3s in your car, well, you got road noise going on, you got people honking, you got other things going on. It really doesn't matter so much. However, you are listening to somewhere that's relatively quiet with your iPod or or with a good sound system, if you have that anymore, you can definitely hear the artifacts in there as well. So let's say I want to take this to, I'll do MP3 export. And also the cool thing, I can also do selection as MP3, which is cool. That means that if I only want to take that part out, I can just say I want that only and make that MP3 or export that as a WAV. But in this case, I want the whole 7 seconds of my crosswise. All right, so it makes it down to 2. That's what we want. And I'll give it a title. Let's call it hot. Put 2 keys there. And we'll save it to desktop. And it gives me where I can put the tags in there. I can put Herb. Let's put hot. Only time that's ever been using the same sequence. And I'll put 2007 here. And let's call it country. Hit OK. And it's going to do its magic. And there it is. I go to my desktop. There it is, right there. So that's an MP3 that I made, and I can take it to iTunes. And actually, I think this is a good point right now where I'm going to get into iTunes. Make sure I get it. No. How many folks here have an iPod? That means pretty much you're going to use iTunes anyways right now. You have to use iTunes to use your iPod. One thing I do find, and I'm mainly a Mac person now. I love OS 10 a great deal, but I do use PCs because most of the folks that I teach actually use PCs, so I need to be first in that as well. I do find that iTunes is a little bit of a resource hog on PC. What it does, it puts a couple of things in there like icon loader and has quick time automatically open up, so it does do that it did. However, it does a lot of really cool things that I think is going to help you out a great deal, and it does it for free, and you can't beat the price of free. So here's iTunes, and basically what I can do is this. I can take this track here, I can drag it into iTunes. There it is. And if I play back, it's going to play back exactly what I put in there. Now, if I want to make a CD out of that, and let me make it work. It's when I put it on the screen here, it's making it work. It's a little bit. It's changing the resolution a little bit for me on here as well. All right. If I hit plus now, if I hit this little plus button, it makes a new playlist, and I'll just call it C. Something like that. And now I can take any track I want and drag it into this playlist. Look at that playlist now. And I can hit, now here's this burn disk. Now I can burn a CD that easy. Yes, sir?
You're still working with traditional sound systems like choir director or a band would have their band off. You would want to save them as WAV files and then burn them traditional.
Oh, you can take WAV files to iTunes.
Will it run as WAV file or as MP3?
It'll run it as a WAV file. It'll run it as a WAV file.
For fidelity, you'd be better off than a WAV file.
Yes, sir. Definitely.
What about does it work as well as a Windows media player? Does it have more complicated? Is it more complicated to use the Windows media player?
Does Windows Media Player burn? To be honest, I haven't used. If it burns that, just use Windows Media Player. And actually, I was kind of saving this for later. This is actually is Mac and PC. You guys haven't seen this. I'll show it to you anyways. This is what they call this an Intel Mac. So it has a processor that's also it's good using PCs, and I can run XP natively on this. So I have a Mac and a PC on.
How'd you get? I have one of those. How'd you get?
For $80, there's a program called Parallels, and you can do that. And this is really cool here. Watch, check this out. And now I'm on PC right now.
You can't really use straight off of Audacity?
No, ma'am. Yeah, if you have PC, you may have Nero or Roxy Creator Pro or Roxy Creator. There are some free programs you can do if you don't have a CD burner, but I'm assuming that At one point in my life, when I was building computers, it was actually cheaper for me to build computers by hand at one point, but not anymore. If you buy a Dell system or gateway system that has CD burner, they're going to give you some CD burning software along with it.
Audacity is a free program?
Yes, ma'am. All programs are shown are free.
Oh, wow.
Yes, ma'am.
And it's similar to your soundboard?
Yes, ma'am.
You can edit.
I'm going to do that. I'm going to do that
Okay, I'm not trying
a
to.
little problem, yes, ma'am. Yes, sir.
Can you get input like with other sources rather than just the USB microphone?
Oh, what you can do, you can buy like something like a Tascam 224 or an M box, and you can plug a USB in there. Then you can put microphones in there. Like basically, you need some type of converter box to take that data. And I should have brought
What
one.
if you have a sound card with like?
No, you can use sound card. You can use sound card. Yes, sir. Yeah. Yes, sir. If you have a sound card built into your computer, there's no place for the microphone. You can just plug the microphone into there, and that will work fine.
Will this do stereo recording?
Yes, sir. Yes. So, anyways, here it is. I can open up Audacity, and unfortunately, I was playing around with this last night. I couldn't get the microphone to work for this for right now. But it's a driver issue because it's using a built-in eyesight for the microphone. So, in any case, yeah.
Well, Audacity, multi-track recording.
Yes, sir. Oh, at the same time.
Well, if it records stereo, they can do 2 at a time, right?
If you have your inputs going that way, yes, sir. Yeah, it won't do. At least I haven't got it to go. And I'll get out of it.
Can you play 2 and record 2?
Yes, sir. I'll just power it off right now. Anyways, I wanted to show you that. So if you didn't like Mac or hated Mac, it does Mac and PC, and it's kind of cool to be able to go. All right. Let's see. I'm going to take, and I wish we had the internet, but that's all right. I'm going to take one of my CDs, just so I don't have to worry about copyright issues. And I'm going to show you how to rip a CD. Does anybody not know how to rip a CD? Okay, I'll show you. It takes 1 second. Put a CD into the computer. And for your elementary teachers, what you get a lot of times, if you want to do like rehearsal or like performance CDs, you can do 1 track. I'll show you that in a second. I don't have to copy. I have to rip the whole entire CD to be able to do what I need to do. And this is the exciting part right here. See a little light pop. You don't like my CD? Oh, there it is. Now, so what I can do, and let me show you about this also. When you first download iTunes, this is very, very important. It's actually under File on a PC, but on a Mac it's under iTunes, under Preferences. The default, when you import, is going to be AZC, which is a good compression system. It's actually better than an MP3. But the sad thing about that is that other devices, other than the iPod, doesn't read AZC. So what I do is to be convenient, and this actually works for you if you want to do this. You have all these options here. AFF and WAVE are pretty much exactly the same thing. Mac, they call it AFF. On PC, they call it WAVE. iTunes put both in there. They're all pretty much exactly what they call Red CD compliant. I forgot exactly all the things. But basically, they're pretty much exactly the same. And also, you have the MP3. The Apple lossless encoder is actually a really cool system as well. But again, other folks can't read it. Here, listen to it outside of iTunes. So what I recommend for compatibility and size is an MP3. So you have to do that. Let me do that one more time so you know where it's at. PC is under File. Mac is under iTunes, and you do Preferences, and basically you're going to General first. Go to Advanced tab, and find the importing, and pick the one you want. Now let's talk a little bit about what bit rate to do. The higher the bit rate, and this here at 320, I can't tell the difference between a CD and an MP3 most of the time. Okay. Now those files are a lot bigger than 128 kilobit ones, but they're still a lot smaller than the WAVE ones. All right. The other thing that I do as well, and I usually rip at 192, is a variable bit rate. I'll explain what that is. What variable bit rate means is that if you have, let's say you have this big orchestra going on, well, you want most of that data, but then all of a sudden a snare drum comes in by itself. Well, you don't need all 192 kilobits for that snare drum. So what it does, it takes the parts that it doesn't need, it gives it that big full orchestra section. And that's what's called variable. Instead of being a 192 straight through, well, it's variable bit rate. Sometimes it's 192, sometimes it goes down to 73, sometimes it goes back up to 192. So it's variable, and it's using the parts it doesn't need to give the other parts to give it more, less compression to that part. So it's usually better to use variable bit compression on it. I used to mention this a couple of years ago that some of the early MP3 players didn't do variable bit, but now every MP3 player you buy now is going to do variable bit rate. So go ahead and use it. I just use medium. That seems to work best for me, so I'll just use the default medium. If you want to experiment around, you're welcome to do that. This is what I used to do: is 192 and medium variable bit rate when I rip things. Now, if you wanted to, and actually I'll just do this. I'll rip it as a WAV file first. Let's see. Turn it on down. All right. Let's say I want that one particular track by itself. Well, I can click on the track, and actually I can right-click on the Mac. I can hold down the Control, and I can say Convert to WAV. The other way of doing it is you click there. It's under Advanced, isn't it? Yeah. And Convert Selection to WAV. All right. So I'll do that, and you see it's important. I won't suggest you too much in my singing. And there it is. And if I go to the music area, there is the WAV file. And if I was on the internet, it would actually went to the database and put all my song titles on there. So if you put any CD in there that's a commercial CD, you'll be able to. Someone's put the song titles on there. In this case, it does. And I can check it by seeing right-click to get info, and I say, okay. Well, this is a WAV file, okay, and it says 23 megs. Just for grins, let's do this. Let me go back under the preferences, and I'm going to change it to MP3. And we'll do my custom one, 92-bit. Let's see what the size is. Let's see what the size is when I code that. So I'll do the same thing. This time it says, see how I've changed to MP3, because now that's what it's going to rip to. It does it automatically. Whatever it is you set in your preferences is what it's going to export as, or import as. Boy, this has got a lot faster than this Intel Mac. Come back up here, and I can check that one. Right-click on it, get info, and now it's 3.4 megs. So you can see there's still a major compression with that. But if I did it, let's do one. I hate to do this over and over again. We'll do it one more time. Let's do it at 320. See how big that is. Back to my audio CD. And everything MP3. So this is using more of that bit rate. So the fidelity should sound better. However, it's me singing and playing guitar, so 16 kilobits was probably good enough for that.
If you were taking these and wanted to get them out of practice, you want to use WAV files. Not everybody can use MP3s on these CD players, right?
Yes, sir. Well, what I would do is I would just burn it as a CD and give it to them as an audio CD. Now, what you can do, the cool thing about an MP3, because probably most of your students are going to be use the internet, is that you can put it to a website. You can even use something like MySpace, because MySpace you can upload 4 MP3s if you have a music account. And then go there and they get downloaded off of MySpace, and then it costs you any bandwidth. I think next year I'll submit a session on how to use all these web tools, what to ask for free. Yes, sir.
Pardon my ignorance, is the only difference between burning, ripping the CD, format that you're saving it in on the CD?
What ripping is that I'm actually taking it, I'm ripping data off the CD. When I burn the CD, it's taking that stuff that I've ripped and put it onto another CD. So one's taking the data off the CD, and the other one is when I burn a CD, is I'm actually making a CD. Well, I can take this first song here and this other song here and make my own CD from that. Or I can just copy that CD potentially if I wanted to. So, as well. And let's see how big that file is. 504 megs. So today with these big hard drives, I would almost say use the highest bit rate that you can use. This is a 2.5-minute song, so that's not too bad. Now a lot of this is just me singing with the guitar on it. Now, okay, what I'll title these. Title this waves, so it's a wave by looking at it.
Would the difference be bigger if you had like a more complex music in there?
Possibly. Usually what it is that for every stereo minute of audio is 10 megs. So you have a 3-minute song that's stereo, it's going to be a 30 meg file. With MP3 at 128 kilobits is usually 1/10 or 1/8 of that size. He asked me if something that was more complex would have been a bigger MP3 file. Potentially, it may be. But the general rule is like when you make an audio file that's a wave recording, it's 10 megs for every serial minute, basically. So if it's a 3-minute song, it's 30 megs. And at 128 kilobits, it's usually 1/10 to 1/8 the size of that. So 3 megs. So what I'm going to do now, I'm going to take this out of iTunes and put it there. And just for grams on that, take
Put it on your desktop and just drag it?
Yes, ma'am. Yeah, I just take the file and then just drag it. And see, on a Mac, you have a little plus. On PC, it would be something similar. And then load up on it. It's on my desktop. And usually I have my desktop a little bit more organized. However, today, this is fine. All right, now what I can do is I'm going to go back into Audacity. And I'm going to say, what's it? Try to get 2 gigs of RAM. I only have 1 gig of RAM, and I think that's one reason why this is slowing me down a little bit. So, put that. Oh, there it is. All right, beautiful. And I don't need this. I don't need this. I don't say that. So open. And Audacity will open up MP3 files. I do find it's faster. It does open up WAV files faster. But this Intel Max is a lot faster. And now, if I want to, there's me playing guitar. I'm about to sing. So let me show you some possible. Yes, sir.
Okay, I've had trouble opening up WAV files in Audacity. How did you do that again? You save it to your desktop, and then when the file opens,
That's
turn
it.
it off your desktop.
Yes, sir.
And then you have to tell it to import it.
It does automatically.
Okay.
Just by opening it?
Yes, ma'am.
PC also.
Yeah.
If you want, I'll pull a PC up in a second, and it shouldn't do the same thing. So now that I got my WAV file up here, I can do some cool things with it. I got actually 2 WAV files, and that's kind of what I was wanting to have. Is that let's say I want this first section for my song. All right, I'm going to copy that and do file copy or this is the command. And if I want, I can make a new file. And I'll paste it there. And I got, see how big it is? If I want to make it smaller, I can hit the little arrows there, I can make it smaller. And I can see I got a little under 30 seconds of music there. So if you want to make it figured you could do that. Let me take something from the other song. I said in the first little part of that, and this part here is a little bit hard to grab, so I'm going to expand that. And see now, you see exactly what I'm highlighting with this first part right here. And that's these little number with a magnifying glass there, the plus and minus. And I'm going to copy that. Minus these. Put the cursor where I want it. And actually, I can use the number to go up and down a little bit as well, which is kind of cool. With the numbers, I'm sorry, with the left, right. Paste it. And there it is. Let me do a little bit of mixing. Actually, let me just do this. This might be actually more beneficial. So I'll make a new stereo track. Like that. Now, I think a lot of times when I do these presentations and computer stuff, people kind of like that because that way they realize that they're not the only ones that computers fall apart on. I'll give it a second or two and set it, I think. Let me just do that. Let me just do it again. Yeah, it's actually a trick that I use to take out cuss words. Because what happens is I have dancers that say that they like Grease has a couple cuss words in it, and they don't want to drop a beat. So what I do is I find the syllable and just
flip it. So it's backwards then.
Because you can very easily go in there and take it out. But they say, well, I don't want to drop a beat when we're dancing. And I understand that. That's true, but they kind of want, even if something's not there, they still want to have something that's there. That is.
My son put them so you can pick it. But don't know how he heard that.
Reverse it.
Yes, sir. There's a reverse button. That's
Your
good.
text, you can just reverse. You can do that with the samplers and addition to.
All right. Awesome. Now let's do that one more time. Let's say I want this first part here. I'm going to copy that. New file. Paste it. And let's take, I'm going to make this a little bit smaller. My sign, come over here up to the end of it, say at the end of the song. Copy that. Paste it there. And what I can do is do a fade in, fade out if I wanted to kind of make it a little bit more. And actually, let me zoom in a little bit on the beats here to see exactly what's going on. Actually, it wasn't too bad. Let's do a quick little fade in, fade out there, fade in, fade out. Yeah, you can get in there. I mean, you can get in there where you can't know what's going on. So if I highlight this section here, if I get like a lot smaller than that, it's like nothing. So it really is amazing to be able to come in here and do that. Let's listen to me sing a little bit. I'll show you that trick that word. Let's say sweater was a bad girl. Let's say sweater is a bad girl. That word. So we can find where it's at. So that's the sweat. So if I were to take that part there and reverse it, that might be worse.
Sounds worse.
The other thing that you could do is that you could put an onk in there, like a bleep in there as well. So you could do that. And like you said, silence is another thing that you could do. You could just come in and silence it as well. I joked around when I showed the kids this in the band camp that they could take out the bad words of their song, or I guess they could put the bad words back in if they really wanted to. And let me do one other thing. So that's basically taking two audio files and combining them together. Just see how to do that. You just copy and paste one section, copy and paste another section in there. And if you want to go fade in, fade out, you can do that. If I did X this out. There's actually a beta of Audacity. I mean, that looks really cool. But what beta is not software that's ready for prime time. So I'm using the version that's not beta. And I'm going to show you what DJs do. This little button right here, this is the move button, so I can move this to wherever I want to. And let's do what they call a crossfade. So I'm going to go back to my little spacer there, highlight what I want, and do a fade out. And then highlight this area here and do a fade in. And that's what DJs do all the time. So if you want to do a crossfade, that's how you do a crossfade. And this button right here is what you do to move it around.
Control the amount of fading. Like, let's say it fades too much and you want to maybe not fade as much, or you want it to fade more.
What I do, if I want to fade more, I just highlight it again and fade it again.
Is there like a percentage?
Do they have a percentage on there? There may be one on there. Let's see. I mean, the fade out didn't have those little things there, little dots. And dots, that means the little boxes come up. So like, if I wanted to kind of mess around with this, instead of using a flanger. If I do make it really wet to her. This is what they do to a lot of the pop stars that can't sing. A lot of compression and chorus going on. I might be, actually, that probably help me out some. It made me sound good. So the cool thing is that with Audacity, there's so many really cool plugins that come in with it, and you can actually go download more of them. They're open source and they're free. And the default ones are the ones I normally need most of the time. And you actually do got an amplify function. So let's take it up. 16. 10 dB. And see how much bigger it got. So if you have like a recording that's really soft, you can kind of increase you can amplify it that way, or you can decrease it if it's too loud. And that's always a handy feature for various things. Because sometimes you get a CD that's loud, and then something that's a little bit softer, and you want it to be the same volume if you're making a mixed CD. And that's one way of doing it. Another way of doing it is on your CD burning program, you have something that's called normalize. And if you ever wonder what that was, you can go in there and hit normalize, and then it will make it, it will find the loudest thing and make everything that loud or that soft, basically, and make it all the same volume size. So if you ever get a CD, it finds the loudest section of all the tracks, and it either makes it, to be honest, I can't remember if it makes everything goes up to that level or brings everything down to the quietest one, but it makes it all the same volume level, basically.
I noticed there was a separate crossfade in and out.
Is there? Wow.
Yeah, on the bottom. I think it's on the effects.
It's under effects. It is. I saw that too.
Let's check that out.
On the bottom, yeah.
Oh, yeah, this was let's see what that does. Let me do this. Let me let me highlight it. I'm assuming that you need 2 tracks to be able to do that. So let me highlight these 2 tracks here where I have the crossfade. Let's see what happens. Well, it must be the same similar type of thing as fade and fade out. I guess it's called, I don't know the difference. I'll have to play around with that. All right. Awesome.
You demonstrating that Notepad software today?
Sure. How much time I got? I was going to show you one more thing in Audacity for
As far as getting a free copy of that, you download it?
type in Audacity in Google. I have the direct link on the.
Okay, I see the link. I just want to make sure that it's just basically the download.
Yes, sir. It's just a free piece of software.
I use it.
Do you have any spyware attached to that stuff?
No. None of this stuff has spyware. I've used programs for years. The cool thing about open source, they won't. I mean, you can't have spyware and release it. So like Audacity is open source. iTunes is from Apple. They're not going to really put any spyware on that. And Finale's Notepad's not going to have any spyware with it either. And it's too big to do that. I recorded this last night in my Motel 6. So that's me playing guitar. And what I can do now is that, and normally what I do is, I won't worry about that today, is that I'll put headphones on. That way you won't get what's called bleed through. So I play a guitar track in, and if I want to play a recorder on top of it, I'd have the headphones on my ears as I'm playing back to that. And this is multi-track recording. Today I'm not going to worry about it. It's pretty soft anyway, so. Okay. I was trying to remember what key I played in last night. And on Audacity, this is the one thing under Audacity you do under preferences. Make sure you have play other tracks while recording the new ones selected. That way it will play back that track as you're recording the other one. If you don't do that, then it won't play back that track. And for me to be able to play in time, I need to be able to hear that track. Also, this is the place where you can pick however many channels you want. And that's 16. I haven't ever used 16, but I guess you could record 16 tracks at one time. And stereo is probably either mono or stereo is what you want there. And this also you can pick your. I've had other devices in here that I could use. I could pick different ones. And file formats is the other place that I do things. One last thing while I'm in here. When you download Audacity, you have to also download the lane codec to export it as an MP3 file. MP3 is, you have to pay a license to use MP3s. What these folks did, they got together and they decided, well, let's make our own version of MP3s, and they call it the lane codec. And that's free to download. For whatever reasons, they can't distribute that at the same time. I don't know why, but you download it, you find it in your library, and basically you just do this and then you find it and you just click on it.
LAMB?
Yeah. On the website, on the website.
Well, you could import it, exit.
Can you spell that?
Yeah, LAME.
LAME.
Yeah, lane, the lane codec. And actually on the Audacity page, it says it right there as the second program under Audacity that you download. Because it knows everyone wants to make these MP3s as well. Okay. Now let's did I change anything? When I get back to that, I'm going to give you more memory.
So it says built-in microphone. Do you have to change that if you have a
Yes, ma'am.
plug-in?
Yes, ma'am. I'll put the other one that says don't use a Samsung microphone or a test. Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am. All right. Let's chill it out. Force quit. Also, one thing, last night, There actually is an Intel built for this one. I haven't downloaded the Intel build of this. This is the PowerPC version of it. So that might be one reason why it's acting a little touchy on me. On my own computer, this is the school's computer. On my own computer, I don't have the Intel chip in this one. So let's see. There is the.
How do you play both of them? You just.
And I can do the balance if I want to. It actually sounds pretty good because I want to hear the melody. So there it is. If I want to, I can take that out as an MP3 as a WAV file. Bam, there it is. Yes, sir.
And can you import? I would have read that a little early, like loops or anything. Can you import those?
Oh yeah. If I want to take the other things that I had and put like the drum beats on top, on the bottom of it, and just copy. Is there a repeat function on here? No, there's a repeat function, but you can copy and paste it a bunch of times on there and have that new drum beat there. And I showed this program to we have like a band camp. I showed this program to the band camp students, and they just love it to death because they can do a lot of really cool things, and it's a free program. And they come with these, they call them mashups, and do a whole bunch of really cool stuff on their own. The other things like this before I go on, what's some pedagogical uses that you could use this program for Audacity?
Well, I've used it wasn't Audacity. There's another free download. It's like a trial version kind of thing. It's something called Rip and Scorch and Burn, something like that. Kind of company. But I used it with my guitar students. I recorded them so they have a practice. And they did it with this. It wasn't me, but they actually had them kind of do it as well. So they're actually using the software technology.
That's awesome.
You could, like, if you were trying to do testing, you could have the kids play or sing into it, you could record, and then you could have them all. You could go into a practice room and record it, and you could listen to it and grade it. Or assess it.
You're sensing and you're trying to do it.
Well, how about some scenarios like this? Because it's a laptop. Let's say you have UIL and the company only comes one time. Well, you can take this in there, record it, give them a CD.
I've recorded CDs.
Give it to the kids as a CD to go home and practice to. You can do. There's so many possibilities with an audio recorder. The podcast that I do, I record on Audacity. So I basically have one guy in Minnesota, one guy in Boston, me and Nacogdoches. And they emailed me their parts. I just move it around, put some music on the bottom of it, and then export as MP3, put it on my website, and have a podcast. For elementary teachers, I would say, what about this? Reading books. Because a lot of children don't have parents that are off enough or have time to read books to them. Well, you could read a book, give it to them on a CD, and then go home and listen to a book on CD. So there's so many options. I used to do this when I used to go 30 minutes to college. I used to make an audio cassette of the notes for a test and listen to the car while I drive there. Well, today, I can make an MP3, put it on my iPod, listen to it on the way to work, on the way to school that way, and study that way. I do that. I do dabble with acting, and I actually do that to learn lines. Because I get scripts and I like hearing another person go back and I can respond back and forth, and that's one way I learn lines for things. Yes, ma'am.
So basically, you can take a ready-made song and you can, let's say you can remove verses or add. Can you do all that with it?
No, ma'am. The one thing is a WAV file that's all combined together. Now I can take parts, I can take sections out of it, but like take out the vocal. It used to be that the vocals were dead center pan, and what you can do is that you can flip it. And you can negate it, but today they're not this only center dead pan. And even then, you only heard the left side twice because you flipped it and you canceled the other side out. Basically, like throwing a rocket up pebble into the water, you throw it exactly the same. You can cancel out the wave, you do it exactly the same way. And that's what That's one way of doing it. There are programs that do it, but that's the process they're doing. And my results have been that they're not that accurate. I get that all the time. I will do a karaoke version of whatever song. What I would suggest to do is that, is to go find the MIDI file of that off the internet, and that way that's only have instruments, MIDI sounds. However, you have the full version of the finale. Golly, those recorded, those sound really good, and you can take it out and then you can sing on top of that. So,
I've taken a song that's too short off of my CD set for my elementary music and added a verse to it by copying and pasting from Audacity. Quick.
That's kind of what I was wondering. Okay, that's good.
There is a device called a sound scope.
oh,
If you're familiar with that at all, but it has there's different versions of it. One version actually burns CDs, another version just plays CDs, but it does have a vocal reduction on it. It has a tempo.
Are you talking about Super Scoop?
Yes, Super Scope.
Yes, Super Scoop.
Anyway, it does those things. It's a device that does. You can slow the tempo down,
Is
speed
that
it
a
up.
tape
You
recorder?
can change the key and all that kind of stuff.
The
It's
Super Scope, right?
Yeah.
Okay, thanks.
That'd be something.
yeah. There's so many really great technology things out there, and does it do a pretty decent job with it?
Yeah,
Awesome. Great.
Up to a certain percentage kind of thing. It's
Yeah.
it's decent, but you can't. Once you go past 40, 20-30% kind of thing, it really does make a. It's not as good. You can only use so much.
This is me in my hotel stints last night. Just playing some blues. So I did the guitar shuffle first, and then went back and recorded the solo line on top of it. So, anyways, I love Audacity. I'm actually a singer-songwriter. I wrote a song while I was here in San Antonio. I recorded a demo version of it in my hotel room. So that way, when I go back to NAC, I can go back and record it. So it really is quite amazing. All right, and I've got about 15 minutes left, right? Let's finish up on Notepad. Any other questions on Audacity Zone?
With the compression spread out, will that play a song back slower at a slower tempo and keep? I mean, can you make that program take a recording and slow it down?
Yes.
To the same key,
Same key. Ooh.
but slow.
There are plugins for some like soundboards and other ones. I've seen that. I don't know. I haven't done that on Audacity. There may be a plugin for it. I don't know. I can definitely slow it down a half step, up a half step. I've done that. It just does change the key. Because what you do a lot of times, you get what's called a Munchkin effect, or you get this artifact in it. Wow. Just take it down to the Munchkin effect. It's really high up. But there are some plugins for some of those. Yes, sir.
There's a program called Tractor. It's a DJ program where you can slow down the song.
What is that?
Tractor.
Tractor.
And TRAK1.
I think I have actually used that program at one point. I think it was a demo version. They did the first track off the CD.
Yes, you can slow down the song, but keep the same.
Well, I won't spend a ton of time on Notepad because actually it's pretty easy to use. And basically when you open it up, this little wizard pops up. And I can say, all right, let me do a song, and I'm the composer. I probably want a letter. I hit next. And here is a little wizard of what's instruments. And so I play piano. I'll put that there. And let's say I want to do like a song also. So we do chords. I'm going to do the voice. I do add. And let's say that for some reason I want the piano on top. I can put that little track there and make it go up, or vice versa. I can make it go down. I can add more instruments if I wanted to. Let's say I wanted to add a violin to it.
You show me the percussion part?
The percussion isn't great. Is there any particular percussion you want?
Drum set.
Okay, drum set. Okay. Yeah. That's going to be an awesome piece there. Key, you guys know what keys. And if you don't know your major and minor keys, that can help you also. So 3 flats is C minor or B flat major. Let's keep it we'll just keep it C. Time signatures, you're restricted, a notepad, you're only restricted to these particular times. So I'll just do 4/4 right now. And it doesn't give you an option for a pickup on Notepad. Finale, of course, you have that option. What I recommend also, if you don't need finale, but you need something that has a little more oomph, then Notepad print music is $80, $79, something like that. As an educator, I think you might even get it for $39 for education price. And it doesn't do everything Finale does, but let's face it, most of you guys don't need everything Finale does. It records in MIDI, it does export MIDI files in and out. It does, I forgot, what is it? 48 staffs. So that's usually enough for most people. I mean, I can write a symphony with that. You know, that's not a problem at all with that. So once the program's up, is that basically what you can do is, you know, just the simple way is I click on a note that I want, and I put it there. And for my 8th note, pick on the duration that I want. And this is what they call the point-click method, which is the slowest way of inputting data. Under Window is the rest palette. I usually this is pop up for me. On PC, it looks a little bit different, but it's. Let's say I'm going to do half rest for the beginning of the next one. And I'll do a half note. Okay, and so forth. Okay, so I can put it that way. That's the slowest way, and that's the way I almost never put notes in notes now. Because and I'm going to play around with this a little bit with my, because I don't have my trackpad here.
Are there other ways to import?
Yes, yeah. The Notepad, there's only 2 ways to put NAS. That was the first way, is the point-and-click method. This is a speedy note entry type method. And what you do is, you use the arrows go up and down and say I want that G there. I hit return, and I hit my Notepad over here. Then I can change the durations by hitting various numbers. See how the durations are changing to different things? Let's say I want 8 notes. Well, what 8 notes are is 4 on the typewriter pad, the number pad that you have on those keyboards. And let's say I want to walk down from that. Hit return. And you can get pretty good, pretty fast at doing this. So I'm a little bit slow right now because I'm used to having a trackpad, number pad here, but I don't have that so much right here. Yeah, I have a pseudo number pad on here. I hit this number lock thing, and it's using the U, I, and O keys, and it's throwing me off a little bit. Yes, sir. And so forth. And I would rewind, and it places that.
Notepad won't have transpositions.
It transposes.
Oh, that's fine.
Yes, ma'am, it transposes. Is there even a concert pitch on here? I think there's a concert. Yeah, I can display concert pitch. Everything's a concert pitch here, though. So that's the easiest way of that's the way I input data. And actually, forever I wanted MIDI to have everything. I wanted to play because I play piano and I put it in there. Honestly, I can put notes faster in here. And let me show you a couple other really cool things that you can do with this. Let's say that, and I guess I can do it. I'll do the piano. I'll take a chord.
It doesn't have any kind of setup for the student to learn. It have like if not, it has video, to show you.
There's one thing that's almost as good. Well, there isn't an arrow to show you. I can show you right now. Is that when you download a Notepad, there's actually the Notepad exercise tutorial, and if you go through these 11 pages, you're going to know how to use Notepad very well.
That's what you did.
Yes, so in some ways, I like video, I like audio. A lot of times, just sitting there doing everything. I took one computer class in college. That's it. And I'm a music technology guy at the university. university. So all the college classes I took were for other things. I learned the reason why I'm doing tech is because I sat down there and hacked it on my own and whatnot. And in some ways, I think that's actually more beneficial than watching a video because a lot of times these videos, and you got, what? One reason why I'm videotaping this and put this on the internet, like, so if anybody want to go back and watch it again or hear something that they might have missed the first time, you can go back and rewind it and whatnot. However, I think this is a great way of how I use Notepad. Right here, this is what I used. This is a really cool feature that came out in, I think, 2004. Is that I had that there. Let's say I want to build a triad. Well, I get 3. It makes another 3, another 3. It makes that stacks thirds. And return. So let's say I want to do something kind of. I paid $20,000 to learn how to do. Let's do choral harmony. I learned how to write all this music that nobody wants to hear. I wrote a serial band piece. Nobody wants to play the serial band piece. This is good. I know how to write serial music really well. Nobody wants to play my serial music. Oh well. But anyways, if I would have had this back in college, I could have done a lot of really cool things because I went fifths. There we go. Very easy. I just hit 5 up there. So I could do, if you want to do crazy stuff like seconds, and I go about, it's the last previous one on top of that, so I go third. So that's the way that you can input things pretty quickly that way with stacking chords. And that's a really cool feature that I love as well. Most of you guys probably know this, and one thing actually I like about Notepad over Finale is that Finale just has so many buttons. It's not friendly to the eye. And I think if you ever get down to this many buttons on Finale and have the same functionality, that's where my humble opinion should be at. I showed this program for the band camp, and they are able to make pieces. What I used to tell them to do is, like, you're a clarinet, you play clarinet or flute or whatever instrument, write something for your instrument. And they're able to make little duets. I've even had people do quartets in a span of 4 days in there, and it's really amazing. They go out and they're so excited about having everybody play it and go home and take it and show their folks that that's what they did in band camp. If I want to do crescendo and diminuendo, click where the point's at, drag. Slowly click on the note. And I'm sorry, this thing's right here is messing with my mouse for all these. I'm not trying to give an excuse, but there's an excuse for it. And it was pretty hard. There we go.
Will this program accept like input from an instrument?
No, sir. The Notepad won't do that. That's print music or Finale. Finale, without the education price is like $500. Educators, you can get $230, and print music's like list for $99. I think you get it either for $79 or $39 as educators. And that's the program I would recommend that pretty much anybody I can use. I'm a composer. I can use Notepad. Print music for everything that I do pretty much, and it's a lot more economical than. It's kind of like Photoshop versus Photoshop Elements. Most people don't need all the Photoshop stuff. But they got to have it because it's Photoshop. Photoshop Elements is more than enough for most folks. All right, and then the other cool thing is the lyrics. Of course, you hit on this little lyric. So when you hover over it, it tells you what it is. So what it's on. And if you haven't seen this before, this is actually pretty cool. You click right on there, and you start typing. I hit the space bar, it jumps to the next note. And so, hat. Now I do a hyphen. It jumps to the next letter. So this is how you put lyrics in for your choir, or you want to put some lyrics in for your songs. I'm almost out of time, boys and girls. One last thing on here. I actually like this a lot.
When you do play back, obviously you can't do lyrics when you play back.
It won't play back the lyrics. That's true. So I can go through here and put in accents. That's the toolbar for that. If you do now to make tests and whatnot, they got the really cool, templates and whatnot. Well, back in the old days, I used to make my handouts myself, but this text tool, and I could just test one, and type in whatever I want to type in for them to do, and just move that around to any place I want to put it. So you can use Notepad to make get out tests and whatnot, make skill sheets with it, and so forth. And anything else on the major? If you want to erase something, there's the eraser there. And to move things around, let's say that this was I want to copy this. I hit this tool right here. It's the mask edit tool. And I hold on Shift, and then I drag it to the place I want. So how many? So make a copy of it. It says how many. I drag it that way, say it 5 times, and make copies of that. Boy, I can't believe that much time just went by. Well, any other quick questions? That's for now. Okay. My biggest advice for anybody that really wants to get into it is honestly open up this Notepad simple entry training exercise. Go through all 11 pages of it. It takes you about 20 minutes. And you know how to use Notepad.
What was it on?
It's in the folder. It's in the folder that you downloaded. When you open up the Finale Notepad, it's going to be that right there, Notepad exercise.
Does Audacity have one or no?
It does not.
All right.
And that's why I'm doing this session to help out. I will throw this on the YouTube and good little video if you wanted to see it again. The one I did last year, which is almost the same amount of stuff, is up there right now. So if you go home right now, type my name, Herbert Midgley, to YouTube, or I think Herbert Midgley TMEA into YouTube, it'll probably pop up. Actually, it was on YouTube. If that is a movie video for sure, I'm getting confused a little bit. But in any case, I really appreciate you guys' time and so forth. And thank you so much for giving me a couple hours and a long day.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.